Are the Drones, Part 1. Dawn's Early Attack. Gotham City, New Jersey, November 24th, 2017. It was the day after Thanksgiving in the early morning hours, as Tony Morrison, a local man who worked as a parole board officer, now retired, was driving home from his Thanksgiving feast with friends and family. He was going to the store to a local store to a local doorbuster deal, hoping to get an early start on Black Friday. But his Friday was about to turn black. His car radio read 5 a.m. As the man was driving patiently down the Bill Finger Memorial Highway across downtown Gotham, he noticed a Ford Taurus coming to him, coming at him very fast, coming right behind him. He rolls down his window to signal the driver just to run ahead of him. Well, that was a big mistake, for Tony's early morning was now ending. The Taurus front end, where the fog lights are at, the fog lights lower down, and out of it was out comes from behind the fog lights two machine guns. Well, the machine guns opened fire, killing Morrison and turning his car into Swiss cheese. So now Morrison's Black Friday was really black. The Ford Taurus stopped. The machine guns went back behind the fog lights. But on closer examination, the car had no driver. Soon, the car went driving by itself from the crime scene. And who was the mysterious driver of the car? Nobody knows. But this was going to be surely a case for the Batman. Well, the police were there later on, investigating, taking the body away, getting the bullets and everything, but nothing. Detective Renee Montoya, a longtime veteran of the police department, said, "This is an open shut case. We got the bullets. We'll match it in forensics, but I'll doubt if we find out who shot this man. This is Gotham City. Could have been gang related, but I don't know why a man in his late 60s would be involved in a gang. But who knows? Maybe he ran with the mob at one time," she said. But hey, it's just another crime in Gotham City, she said. And she went into her sedan and drove off. Well, morning at Wayne Manor. Bruce Wayne was dining on his breakfast. His usual assortment: eggs, bacon, sausage, and RC Cola for his caffeine fix. Alfred was saying, "Well, Master Bruce, there was a shooting this morning out on the Finger Memorial Highway in downtown Gotham. Nothing new, nothing really to report on. That's what the news says. They got the shell casing, but you know how most of these shootings end. They end with never finding the guy." Well, Bruce looks at the old butler and says, "What about the guy who got shot?" "Nothing. Retired parole officer, really." "Oh boy," said Bruce. "This is not good." Alfred looks at him puzzled. "Why?" asked the butler. Bruce answers back, "Because he's a parole officer. He probably got somebody mad." I was hoping for another night off as the Batman, but I guess it's not going to happen," said Bruce. But Alfred replied back, "You might as well forget it, Master Bruce. The commissioner's on vacation. Harvey Bullock is running the show until the commissioner gets back, and he hates the Batman," said the butler. But Bruce says, "You're right, he does. But hey, he may not call on me, but still, I got many ways to find out about what's going on," said Bruce. And Alfred said, "You're right, Master Bruce. You're very right." Well, At the police headquarters, Harvey Bullock was in his office eating on a donut, looking through the paperwork, when he had a knock on his door. He says, "Come in." It was Renee Montoya who comes in. She says, "Well, Harv, we got the bullets ID'd. Typical machine gun rounds, nothing special, 30 caliber, the usual stuff, but no motive." As she continued, as for the man who was shot dead, he's a retired parole officer, more than likely someone from his past, someone who he denied parole, wants revenge. Harvey was looking at the detective, and he said, doesn't surprise me. Doesn't surprise me at all. And we may not be able to get this guy, whoever shot this fella. Either way, we got other things to look after. I really hope the commissioner gets back soon," said Harvey. "I really hate being the acting commissioner in his absence." So, then Harvey says, put everything in the files, and when I'll assign somebody to it whenever I get a detective that's free, or maybe I'll wait till the commissioner gets back and let him assign somebody to it. Renee Montoya said, "That's a good idea, Harv. That's a good idea." She left the office. Harvey went back, concentrating on his paperwork, munching on jelly donuts. Well, the morning turned to day. Well, the morning turned to afternoon, and the afternoon turned to evening. Being winter time in New Jersey, the sun sets early. Well, for Bruce Wayne, sunset means it was time to go to his second job. His one passion, being the Batman. So Bruce Wayne gets up, goes to his grandfather clock, and moves the hand to 9:47. The grandfather clock opens up. He goes down the small stairwell into the elevator. The elevator descends to the depths of the Batcave. As the elevator opens up, Bruce Wayne emerges as the lights of the Batcave turn on, triggered by the motion sensor of him exiting the elevator. It was quite the sight, the Batcave. To the far end was a massive supercomputer built with several hundred of personalized Wayne Enterprise computer hardware. The Batmobile, sleek and black, sitting on the turntable, ready for takeoff. His workshop, where he makes all his gadgets and gear. His forensics desk, where he analyzes forensics and things. And a small lake where the Batboat is moored. Bruce walks over to the Bat computer. He punches a few keys and gets into the police mainframe. As he looks at the police mainframe, he looks at the case. Pretty much a dead end for the police. Long list of suspects, but they believe it could have been. They believe they had the same theory. They had the same theory as Bruce Wayne, that it was probably somebody that didn't get parole and decided to get back at him later on. Probably they just been released out of jail. Bruce Wayne hits a few keys and starts cross-matching the stuff from his old job to see who he dealt with. But being a parole officer, the list was very long, and meaning that the murder suspect could have been anybody. He did see that the police identified the rounds, 30 caliber, but it was all dead end from there. So Bruce Wayne decided it was time for Batman to interrogate somebody. More than likely, probably his widow. Bruce Wayne gets up. He walks over to one end of the cave, where a vault rises from the ground. The vault opens up, revealing his Batsuit, and trays open up, revealing his equipment. Bruce Wayne suits up and was now the Batman. He jumps into the Batmobile, closes the canopy, fires up its jet engines, and takes off. The Batmobile shoots from the secret entrance of the Batcave, heading into the night. Its destination, Gotham City. For Morrison's widow, it was very heartbreaking what happened to her husband during the holiday seasons. But as she was coming home from visiting a friend, she got quite the surprise. Standing there, waiting, his cape flapping in the dark, was Batman. She was frightened. She was like, "Oh dear God, you're real, you're real." Batman says in his altered voice, "Mrs. Morrison, I'm investigating your husband's death, and I need answers. Can you help me?" Mrs. Morrison's like, "Okay, I'll help you, but I don't know much. Me and my husband were we were separated. That's why I wasn't with him when he died. We even did Thanksgiving. He went to his family's house, and I went to my family's house. But we were in the process of reconciling," she says. Batman says, "Who wouldn't want your husband dead?" She says, I don't know. Many people. He's a retired parole officer. He had done it for almost 40 years. Said Batman. "Well," he says, "if you know anybody, if you remember anything, I'll be back." But Mrs. Morrison's like, that's all. I don't know nothing. Like I said, he has a lot of enemies. You make a lot of enemies as a parole officer." Batman's, "Well, thank you, Mrs. Morrison." And he disappears, and he drops a smoke pellet and disappears. Soon, he was driving in his Batmobile through Gotham City. Nothing at all. But his little dead end would soon open up. Meanwhile, in another part of the city, near Amusement Mile, the little gambling section in uptown Gotham, James Monroe was your typical well-to-do fella. He was celebrating the holidays in style at one of the local casinos there. Well, his night of fun and everything would soon get cut short as his luck was about to run out. As soon as he was exiting the Gotham casino, he was going to his car parked in front of the casino there, on the front. As he was getting into the passenger side, this Ford Taurus, the same one that killed Morrison, was coming at him high speed. Well, the Taurus ran right into him, taking him down and the car door down. But this time, its front end had a ram bumper. Well, the Taurus also was driving by itself, probably by AI or by remote. It puts itself in reverse, does a 3-point turn, and speeds off away from the crime. As Batman was driving his Batmobile, the police scanner rings alive. "Breaker, breaker, we have a hit and run. We have a hit and run at Gotham Casino. Over. Repeat, over." Batman said, "Looks like my big break." He drives off. As he was driving, he could hear the police scanner saying, a vehicle identified as a Ford Taurus, newer model, heading up Highway 3. Well, Batman decides to engage with the police in the chase. It was your typical high-speed chase. The Ford Taurus's engine was modified, as you could hear the sound of the supercharger screaming over its engine. And the police, their vehicles were modified, but it was Batman who was going to catch up to this car, as his jet engine allowed him to outrun everybody. He was catching up to the to the Ford Taurus. As he pulled on right along the side of it, Batman noticed that there was no driver. He was shocked, so he jerks his steering wheel to the right to hit the Taurus. He hits the Taurus loses control and crashes into a light pole. Batman stops the Batmobile with a screeching halt. He puts it on park, opens the canopy, jumps out, runs towards the car. The wrecked Taurus was wrecked, but he did notice something as he looked inside. On the dashboard on top were cameras acting as eyes for the car. He knew something. It had to be remote. He couldn't, but unfortunately, as the police were coming, he couldn't do any thorough investigation. All he did was activate his detective mode, scan the car for anything significant, but nothing at all, nothing to distinguish it from any remote controlled or robotic vehicle. Batman jumps in his car and drives off into the night. Well, the police arrive, they cordon off the area, and they call the tow truck for the car. They take it to GCPD headquarters. And there, they were going to get quite the surprise. Well, several hours later, it was late, but the one of the experts for vehicle modifications and technology that works at the GCPD comes into Bullock's office. He says, "Detective Bullock, I looked over that car you wanted. Well, how should I say, it's a robotic vehicle. It's when I looked over it, it's got stuff in there. It drives by itself. It's been programmed. It's got we're still looking into its AI and all that stuff and who programmed it. But most of the technology there's just really off the shelf stuff you could buy. The question is, who built this car and why? And this car also has weapons. The machine gun hidden behind the fog lights. It had front and back ram bumpers. It also has the cameras linked up to the little computer that that was driving it, and it also has a receiver to probably receive radio signals and orders from whoever built this thing and controls it. Either way, this is very interesting," said the guy investigating the car. Bullock was saying, "No, this is great. Just what I need. Killer robot cars running around the city. Ugh. Can anything normal happen in the city?" said Detective Bullock in upsetness. Either way, he says, "Well, fine. Well, at least we know he says, "Just have fun with it," he tells the guy. I think I'm gonna need some help. I hate to say this." Well, Bullock was looking up the ceiling of his office. He was gonna call Batman, but he looks at the clock in his room. It was 4 o'clock in the morning. He's like, "Screw it, I'll call him tomorrow night." So, well, as for Batman, he was back at the Batcave, analyzing the surveillance video from outside Gotham Casino. He could see in the video that James Monroe had been run down, but the question in Batman's mind was why? Who built this car? Who controls this car? Who programs it? And why James Monroe? End of part 1. Night of the Drones part 2, Monday Blues. Monday night, Gotham PD building, the roof. Bullock was waiting on the roof of the GCPD building. The bat signal shined bright in the sky. He was waiting for the pointy-eared freak, as he always called him, waiting for him to show up. Well, he waited and waited until he heard a flapping of capes in the air. He looked behind him, and there he was, Batman, just standing there, quietly, white, his eyes white, and his cape flapping in the air. So, trying to scare me like you do with the commish all the time, huh? Well, it doesn't work on me, said Bullock. I've been a cop way too long. Nothing scares me. Nothing at all. So, are you gonna stand there and stare at me? Said the detective, or are you gonna help me? Well, Batman spoke, and he says, "I thought you didn't like me. You said you never needed my help. So, what are you calling me for?" Said Batman. Bullock said, "Well, I have a little problem. There's a guy with a robot car. He has it driving around. He killed two people. A retired parole officer, excuse me, and an ex and an ex money launderer, bookie for the mob. He he was killed. He was killed Saturday. He was killed Friday night. So what do you have? I know you're working on this, Bullock. So do you have any theories? Has your fancy computer turned up anything, or you're just gonna say I can solve this and just disappear off?" Batman stares at the detective and says, "I already made several leads. My computer did turn up something. Morrison and Monroe had a connection with one man that turned up on the searches for both of them. His name was Rudolph Carrier, aka Rudy Carrier. He's a former drug runner. He had been busted back in the early 2000s and was arrested. But since the police couldn't really try him on anything, he was given a light sentence and a possibility of parole. He tried to apply for parole in around '08, but failed. The one who headed his parole was none other than Monroe. While he was successful at getting parole around 2012, and he moved here to Gotham City, he was being held at a Sing Sing prison. Ever since he's returned here, he's been running a car lot, Emerald City Car Dealerships. That's a Ford dealership. He runs it. As for Monroe worked with him several times, handling his finances. But after Monroe's arrest 10 years ago, he was tried but acquitted. But I guess it was a warning enough for Monroe to quit his ways. He took all his finances and just lived a jet set life for 10 years until he was killed. So that's all I could draw up. What about you, detective? Said Batman. Well, you got it farther than me, said Bullock. I don't know how you do it. So, am I gonna go to the dealership and ask for Mr. Carrier, or am I gonna, or you're gonna do that? He said to Batman. Batman just stared at him and said, "It's your move, Detective Bullock. It's your move. You know where to find me. We need me." Batman walks over to the railings. He jumps on top of the railings and then he jumps off, gliding off to the distance. Bullock looks. He reaches in for his coat pocket, pulls out a cigar, bites the tip off, spits it out, and lights it. He's like, one of these days, I'm going to run you in, and I'm going to find out who you are. Well, Tuesday morning, young Bruce Wayne decides to go car shopping. He goes into Emerald City Ford, the dealership that Rudy Carrier runs. He goes around, looks around. He soon draws the attention of a salesperson, a very attractive young black woman by the name of Corinne. She introduces herself. "Hello, sir. My name is Corinne. How can I help you?" When Bruce Wayne turns around from looking at a car, Corinne recognizes him. Like, "Oh, you're Bruce Wayne, the famous billionaire who lives in the city and owns Wayne Enterprises." Bruce is like, yes, I've. I don't come out shopping for cars very often. So I was actually not looking. I was actually looking for a car, but not for me. It's for my company. I'm looking for a company car for my executives. So I was looking for anything you have in the Lincoln lot, possibly a Continental. Corinne gives a look of interest to Bruce Wayne. She says, "Oh, we have plenty of Lincolns here, sir. Do you also like Mercury?" She grabs Bruce Wayne by the arms gently, takes him over to the Lincoln part, and shows him all the Continentals there of every color and varieties. Bruce looks around and is like, "I think I like that black one there. You want to happen? Can you paint some more of that same color?" She says, said Bruce. Corinne says, "Yes, Mr. Wayne, we could do that. We specialize in customizing cars to the customer's needs. So, so anything you want," she says. Bruce said, "I want the. Is this the model that has the 3.0 liter turbo V6 EcoBoost?" She said, "No, that white one over there." Bruce is like, "Well, I'll take that. I'll take 5 of those, paint them black, jet black." She says, "Sure thing, Mr. Wayne. Let me go talk to my manager real quick and make sure everything's okay with him. I'm sure your money's good here, Mr. Wayne," she says. "I am sure." Bruce lets out a smile and is like, "You can count on it," he says. So as Corinne walks off to her manager's office, Bruce looks at the wall, and right there in the wall was a picture of all the employees who work there. Sure enough, there was the suspect, Rudy Carrier, a big black man, about mid-40s, bald, grain goatee. But there was also several other guys working there. Bruce looks both ways to make sure the coast was clear. He grabs his smartphone, takes pictures, and sends the pictures over to the back computer. So as he waited, Rudy Carrier himself comes out and is like, good morning, Mr. Wayne. I'm glad that you came to us for your company cars." The two men shook hands. "So I see you like this particular model of Lincoln. Well, sir," he says, "we'll get this customized to your wants," he says. "So when do you need this car?" Bruce, he asked Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne says, "Maybe can you have it ready for me, and I'll give you guys to the end of the week, and I'll pay for it now," said Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne reaches in his pocket, pulls out a checkbook. He looks at all the sticker prices, does quick math in his head, and fills out the checks. Well, he gives it to Carrier. Carrier looks at it, his eyes lit up, and is like, he shakes Bruce Wayne's hands again. "Thank you, Mr. Wayne. Thank you. Thank you very much. You will not be disappointed. Today's Tuesday," he says. "You'll have your car by Friday afternoon, Mr. Wayne." "Oh," and I'm glad. And he turns to look at Corinne. He says, "Corinne, you did a very good job." So he goes off to his office to get everything cleared. Bruce then looks at Corinne. Corinne cracks a smile and he says, "So, Corinne, I'm going to be free. My cars are not going to be ready yet," he says, "but I'll be free. Tomorrow night. You want to go to dinner?" Corinne looks and it's like, "Oh, Mr. Wayne, I really shouldn't be dating a customer." It's like, hey, said Bruce. "I'm a customer, but I'm also a single man, and you're a very beautiful woman," he says. "So, are you free Wednesday night?" he asked her again. Corinne, kind of blushing, says, "Oh, I'm free, Mr. Wayne. I'm free tomorrow night. I'm free every night." Bruce cracks a smile and says, "Oh, don't worry. Tomorrow night it is. Why don't you meet me," he says to her. "Why don't you meet me at Ches Louise around 8 p.m.? She said, "Oh, I'll be there at 8 on the dot." Bruce lets out a smile. He said, "Oh, I'm looking forward to seeing you." Well, Wednesday night came. Bruce and Corinne were having dinner at the Ches Louise. It was your typical upscale French restaurant. Corinne was dressed in the nicest dress that she had, while Bruce Wayne was dressed in his usual dinner suit, looking like James Bond. As they were eating the foo-foo food of the French restaurant, they were talking with each other, getting to know each other more. In reality, Bruce was just trying to find out more about the place she works at and see if she knows anything else about her boss. Conversation really turned up nothing. She was just a regular employee who really didn't know the goings on of the dealership. But he figured that the pictures he took will the back computer will ID it. Well, the night went on, and soon they bid each other good night, and Bruce saw her to her car, and Bruce was feeling a little thing for her. Corinne waved and drove off, and well, Bruce looks at his watch. It was around 11 o'clock. He says, "I think Batman's gonna have the night off. I'm a little bit happy right now," said Bruce. Well, he goes home, goes down to the Batcave, and goes to the Batcomputer. Sure enough, the Batcomputer ID'd all the photos that he had in his phone that he took at the dealership. One in particular was interesting. One of the men there, he was a middle-aged man, graying hair. His name was Rod Simmons. Rod Simmons, according to the computer, was an MIT graduate, majored in robotics and a lot of electronic technology. Very interesting. And it was very interesting that he was working at a Ford dealership. So now his curiosity was piqued. Now he needed to find a way to get into the dealership and find out what's going on. But like he said to himself, it could wait till tomorrow night. Bruce Wayne was too happy. Bruce Wayne thinks he was going to see Corinne a lot more. Well, the night went. He slept. And the next morning at work, he was talking to Lucius Fox about his discovery and everything. Lucius says, "Well, I'm glad you found a new girlfriend, Mr. Wayne," he says. "But she really does not know anything about the dealership?" Bruce says no, but I think Batman's going to go there tonight and find something very interesting. Very interesting indeed. End of part 2. Night of the Drones, Part 3. Deal or no deal? Well, Emerald City dealership was quiet. It was closing time. All the salespeople left and locked up behind them. There was only 2 people left in the dealership, Rod Simmons and Rudy Carrier. Both men were making sure the coast was clear before they went to the garage. As soon as they entered the garage, the door locked behind them. Well, Alfred was playing Oracle that night since he was on vacation. He was seeing through the back computer. He had hacked into the security feed and made sure that the alarm system was not on, and plus keeping an eye on the dealership around for Batman. Batman glided in, and he heard Alfred's voice over the comm in his cowl, and he says, "Well, Batman, coast is clear. The 2 men just went into the garage." Well, Batman looked around and saw a skylight. He goes up to the skylight and breaks the lock. He opens the skylight and glides down. Activating detective mode, he surveys the entire dealership. The dealership was quiet. There was nobody around, but he could see through the walls, through the security door, the distant red skeletons of the 2 men he was going after. Batman goes up to the security door to the garage. He takes out his decryptor device and sums around with the analog stick until he gets the code. The little LED light on the security door shines green. Batman quietly opens the door and shuts it. He crouches around and crawls around so he's not seen or heard. Well, as he's doing that, Carrier was explaining to Simmons his motives. He was saying, "Well, Morrison denied me parole. Even though I got a degree in jail, he still denied me on the stupidest grounds. While Monroe, that jerk, He handled my finances, and then when he got caught, he used my finances, the money I trusted him with, to finance his defense team to get him off the hook. Nobody messes with my money. Nobody steals my money, said Carrier. Well, but our revenge, or I say my revenge, tonight will be complete once we get the final guy, my old best friend Combs, Robert Combs. Me and him grew up in the hood together, and well, we went into business together. And when I got caught, he made a plea deal. He got a slap on the wrist. I went to jail. So Carrier says to Simmons, "Are you gonna be with me for this last revenge plot?" Simmons lets out a big sigh. "Fine, I'll do this, but you better give me that 500,000 so I could just start anew," said Simmons. Carrier said, "Hey, I'm a man of my word. You get your 500 grand and disappear, and then once my revenge is complete, I'll disappear. And I already destroyed everything that could link all this to you and me. So, just program the car, your new car, with all the stuff I gave you on Combs, because he's going to come out, he's going to leave his job at the Sayona Steel Mills in 2 hours. Then, once it's done, we just destroy that car, and then me and you are going our separate ways on jets." Simmons says, "Deal. I'm on board." But then Batman disturbs and says, "Wrong. Both of you are going to jail." They freak out. Simmons is like, "Oh shit, it's Batman." Carrier looked like he was not scared. It's like, really? You think a guy in a cheap Halloween costume is going to scare me? Suddenly, he pulls out his Glock and starts shooting at Batman. Batman quickly leaps out the way and throws a smoke pellet. The smoke pellet explodes and engulfs the small area with thick smoke. Batman activates detective mode to see through the smoke. He could see that Carrier was running, but Simmons was coughing up a storm. And he also saw through the detective mode that Simmons had a 9mm on him. He quickly beat Simmons up, left him unconscious. Batman heard the garage door opening, and he heard a powerful car starting up. It was a Shelby GT. Carrier was driving off into the night, escaping. Sure enough, Batman runs out the open door, calls the Batmobile, and engages in the chase against Carrier and his Shelby GT. Carrier reaches into his pocket, pulls out a remote, presses the button, and the new robotic Ford Taurus activates and comes out. It was catching up with its modified engine to the Batmobile. The Batmobile was, compared to what it could do, was going pretty slow because it was catching up to the GT. But the rear view camera showed Batman that the final robot car was coming at right behind him. The Taurus activates his machine guns and starts shooting at the Batmobile. Batman was letting the car come close to the Batmobile. He was also getting close to the bumper of the Shelby GT. Batman presses a button. It was the EMP wave button. And sure enough, as soon as the EMP was built up, Batman presses the trigger button. The EMP is released and disables both vehicles. Both vehicles careen off the road. The Shelby GT crashes into a bunch of parked cars on the side of the road, while the Ford Taurus just careens out of control and crashes into a building. Batman stops the Batmobile. He opens the canopy. He comes out, walks towards the wrecked GT, grabs Carrier, and beats the daylights out of him, knocking him out cold. He gets on his comm and says to Alfred, "Call Bullock. Tell him I left 2 unconscious men, one at the Emerald City dealership in the garage section, and one on Princeton. Right, sir, said Alfred over the comm. Well, both men were arrested and were waiting in jail for trial. Like always, the police took credit for it, while Bruce kept on seeing Corinne. Corinne explained to Bruce that she was thankful that she didn't get involved with the criminal activities of her boss and the mechanic, and she was also thankful she was not going to lose her job due to the fact of the activities of her boss and the mechanic. She explained to Bruce that the dealership was changing hands with a new manager, and nobody was going to lose their job. She was thankful for that. As for Bruce, Bruce was just happy. He's got a new girlfriend now. She's beautiful. In his mind, he just wonders how long this is going to last. How long before his secret identity will cause a rift between them. Tune in next time. Good night out there. Like and subscribe.